did you
Mm.
become what you thought you were going to be? You know, we all have dreams when we're a kid. I want to be an astronaut. And of course, you know, we don't
Yeah.
become that. But uh, do you remember
Yeah.
how were you as a kid? Did you have this kind of signs that you were passionate
Yeah.
about?
Great question, Vivian. So I think there's some probably patterns and elements I can point to. I think I grew up very close to family. Not everybody does. As I've grown older, I've realized that. So I was very close to my family, my immediate family. That's certainly one thing. I think there was one element which I've noticed in a lot of things I've done through childhood is I would often get obsessed with something and then I'd fully focus on it. And that full focus
Ah,
would last for, let's say, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, that kind of time period between 2 and 5 years. And so I'll give you an example. For example, I played from maybe third grade to seventh grade. I played soccer very seriously. You know, I almost went to the UK to train professionally,
mm,
and from India, I was very close to doing that. I traveled everywhere. Let's say I was going to a party with my family or something. I would be in full soccer attire, including the studs. The studs and the shin guards and everything. I was just so obsessed that it was so part of
wow,
my identity that anywhere I would go, I was a soccer player, and I would dress like that everywhere.
that's
In fact,
wonderful. Yeah.
yeah, I even have this memory of I think my parents forced me to take tennis classes and I went to this clay court and I went in the soccer studs and I got turned away because they said your studs are going to ruin the court. So it's that's how ingrained I was. So I didn't become a soccer player. Actually, I had a knee injury and that kind of derailed me and I got into tennis after that. But I think that same passion and that laser focus and that applies to whatever I'm working on. And I've also been aware of my weaknesses, gnoti se auton, right? So I've noticed and I know that I have deep passion for a thing, usually for a few years, and then that because also in the first few years your growth is really exponential, right? And then it slows down just by the nature of so I've also learned this. And so when I'm now doing a startup, I'm aware of that. And so I'm expecting to, hey, after 2, 3 years, I'm not going to burn out. I'm going to make sure that, hey, I have enough fuel to keep me going and to set expectations. So I think those are some lessons I've learned as a kid. My father was in the merchant marine, so he used to travel around the world sailing. I would sail a lot with him when I was younger,
Ah,
and kind of the model of kids doing what their parents or their fathers have done. That's how things used to be in olden times. If your father was a blacksmith, you were a blacksmith.
yeah.
So I
Hmm.
kind of like that model. I think my dad could have really fastened my progress in that field. So at one point, I just assumed that I would also join the merchant marine and become a sailor.
Ah,
At another point, because I was, I think, good at academics, I thought about going into academia. I was thinking about pure math. I thought math was, this beautiful thing, this perfect combination of abstract art, but also
mm.
something, a form of meditation, in fact, but also something that applies to the real world, to, finance, to engineering, to physics, to all these different fields, to economics. And yeah,